Hey, what up, it's your boy Nick. Guess who's busting out the gate with a super unpopular opinion on their quest to dismantle cancel culture and restore the idea that not everything is as bad as we make it out to be. Closed species. Yep, that's the topic, and here we go. This is potentially the most divisive topic in the furry fandom, specifically. So I of course had to talk about it because every time someone talks about it, it's so negative. Basically, it's a design option that you can only obtain through adoptions, auctions, and giveaway events if you want the character to be of that species. This includes things like primogens, chimerians, impims, and fluffy shrimp. Closed species, to me, are not bad. That is my hot take. There are things about every group and subgroup on the internet that people don't like. The K-pop fandom, the anime fandom, Homestuck, Undertale, literally everything that's ever existed on the internet ever has a fandom. And something we don't like about it. Because just like all other communities, they are made up of individuals who sometimes don't operate on the same wavelength. Sometimes people take things too far and make their group look really bad. This video is my opinion, and I know there are a lot of people who might not even want to hear me out, and that's fine. I'm honestly just happy you clicked on. But to those that are okay with this conversation, I appreciate you and hope we can have a real conversation about this topic. So click that subscribe button if you want to be a part of these weekly combos with me and the community, and without further ado, let's get into it. So first, I asked my patrons on Discord, what do you not like about closed species? So we're going to go through the general grievances people have and debunk them. Low effort. So some people say that they are low effort and don't have enough backstory or lore to justify the price and to say that they are a species. I will say, in terms of like an adopt maker, I have never seen somebody who makes adopts have an entire backstory for selling their adoptables. So why is this a standard we are placing on others that they have to have certain qualifications to be a species when they are fully allowed to have artistic integrity just like any other adopt maker? Like yes, lore helps differentiate a character and helps them stand out, but I've also seen phone sketch adopts that sell for over $500, but I'm not going to say that they need more effort to justify that. Unoriginal. I do agree there are closed species that, for lack of a better word, have no overarching originality. They're dogs with antlers, and whether they sell for a high price point or not, they're often scrutinized for not being original enough. That being said, there's probably 8 times more open species that have the same problem because they're free to make. This I only understand people complaining about if the admins are actively witch hunting people who have characters that are similar. In that case, it is bad. But if that is not the case, why are you personally offended that someone has a dog with antlers and are calling it a species if they are fine with people who aren't part of the species having similar things? It's like being upset that someone has a fruit stand next to an apple tree. Oh, but hey, it's time for the commercial break. For those who do not know, I have a Patreon. All the support is really appreciated. You can support me directly and get access to my video topics, ideas, and be part of actually scripting my videos. I appreciate the little Discord server we have. It's really cute and supportive. And my patron shout out today are Riskier Daisy and Lemon Bunny. You two are rock stars, and let's get back to the video. So, there's also the idea that they are too expensive. This is probably the second most divisive part about closed species. Outside of the closed species debate, whenever someone tells an artist that their stuff is too expensive, it is considered extremely rude. Artists are allowed to charge whatever they feel like if it sells or not. But when a closed species does it, it is considered exclusionist. I've seen rough sheets sell for $2,000 auto buy, but I've never once thought that artist was a bad person because of it. Supply and demand are market-driving phenomena. If your art would sell for that much, I'm sure you would sell it for that much. And if someone is willing to pay whatever price, why bring down the artist because of it? In many cases, closed species have guest artists who have never sold their art for that price, and they're walking away not only with several $100s in some case, but popularity, and it honestly benefits a lot of small artists along the way. Saying something isn't valid for the price it's placed at is a subjective opinion because art is a subjective concept. We give art its value. The people who buy them value them at that price. This literally would not make sense in any other artistic industry. Closed species also help bolster the idea that spending a lot of money on art is justifiable. Those same people who buy expensive species might commission expensive art and support a lot of artists in their endeavors. Witch hunting. Witch hunting is not okay. This is usually the biggest difference between open and closed species that has caused the greatest rift between the two, and it is the #1 reason why people don't like closed species. Witch hunting is going after other artists and calling on others to attack them for doing something you consider wrong. In a species debate, it's usually when someone makes a character very similar to a closed species, like they'll have the same traits, without actually owning it. This is usually a tactic done by the members of the community sooner than the actual admins, the mods, or even the person who created the species. But also, I think every group, whether it's closed or open, they need to make a public post denouncing witch hunting, because it's not only closed species who do this. I have seen this on an individual artist basis. I have seen people witch hunt over pose theft, palette theft, theme theft. So witch hunting is just something that happens everywhere, and it's not just a closed species thing. But I mostly find it's the members of the community who do this, which goes back to the fact that every community has something that they do that is frowned upon. This is one of those instances. I am not going to say a species is bad just because its members are crazy. Scalping. Scalping is a problem that literally persists in all forms of adopt-based art. If someone is popular, people will hoard their designs and sell them at a higher price. But a lot of closed species have measures put in place to avoid this. But then people will still get mad if they're not allowed to sell a character for more than what's worth or what they bought it for. So if you actually draw and commission extra artwork for it, you're usually allowed to sell it for a higher price. But there are actually some groups that might not let you sell it for higher even if you have commissioned artwork for your character. But if this is something that bothers you, it's usually explained in the terms of that group, which you assumably read and agreed to. It's just a trophy. Many people frowned on closed species because they're seen as a trophy and put in a glass box and put on display without ever being used sometimes. This is also a moot point because there are very few people I know that use every single one of their characters and don't have some that are just chilling in Toy House that they haven't used in years. But even then, why are you policing what someone does or how they treat a character they bought with their own money? Beyond this, I think it's important to realize that closing a species, or even owning any type of species, is a lot of work. It's one of those things you really don't see the work and often take it for granted. Managing a master list, and many of the bigger species even have some awesome lore and a community and events that they oversee. A lot of this they were able to make with the funds that they gathered from selling those adopts. And don't get me wrong, there's tons of open species that do this too, but it's just something in general people overlook when they see a species open or closed. But it's also completely not necessary to have a species that you need to have all this lore and events and things like that. You can literally just do what you want. When it comes to a closed species, all art etiquette I just noticed goes out the window, and you are suddenly allowed to say something's ugly, not worth the price, unoriginal, overrated, and lots of other mean things you wouldn't tell someone to their face. When the fact of the matter is, it is one of the easiest things not to care about. We forget that people behind the screens are individuals whose closed species help pay for their rent. Why would I be upset that they're more successful than me, or anyone else for that matter? Why would I want to bring them down? I have seen people maliciously go out of their way to make counter species, ones that are deliberately similar to another species just as a big f*** you to them. Technically, yes, that is something you are allowed to do, but it just seems so incredibly childish to me. Because you can say this is your original idea, but some species are so genuinely and exceedingly unique that's obvious that you took deliberate inspiration from them just to counterculture them or to prove some point. But there is a big, bad, mean word that is the main reason why people don't like them, and it starts with a J, and I know you know it, and I know it. But from what I see, people don't like the fact that they're expensive, hard to get, and sell for more than what artists sell their stuff for. There are some other genuine concerns, like witch hunting for having a character too similar, which by all means is not okay. But I have gotten so many comments from people saying, I wouldn't sell my stuff for that much, my adopts don't sell for that much, and I can't afford that species. But what I want the audience to consider is, are you mad at the species or are you mad at the community? Are you mad at them for existing or the community that idolizes it? Are you mad at the price or are you mad at the toxicity? And if you were the creator, would you genuinely not do the same thing? If you put a lot of effort into creating the species, would you not sell it for a high amount of money if you could? If you could sell an open species for the same amount of money, would you? Or are your morals just so high that you feel no art that it would ever be worth that kind of money? Are you white knighting the community by saying they deserve more from something so expensive when in reality the people who bought them feel like they bought something worth that much? But ultimately, I am pretty accepting of closed species because at the end of the day, if I don't like it, I don't buy it. I am really happy that someone can sell their IP for so much and find huge success in this fandom. Because if someone made an orca-themed species doesn't mean I can't have an orca as a fursona. Like, it's a lot of common sense that I think people just really want to overlook and be mad. But thank you for being part of this conversation. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. But as always, this has been Nick, and remember, let's try to keep things simple.